Hi students, let us discuss the remaining concepts under Emergence of Software Engineering. Data flow oriented design is the next concept. As we know that computers became more powerful and also faster with the introduction of VLSI circuit designs. VLSI stands for Very Large Scale Integrated Circuits. These are sophisticated softwares which were needed in order to solve further challenging problems. Therefore, software developers looked out for more effective techniques in order to design the software, and soon data flow oriented techniques were being proposed in such a way that major data items handled by a system must be identified and also processed as per the requirement of the data items to be produced in order to get the desired outputs. The functions are also sometimes called as processes, and the data items that are exchanged between different functions are represented in the diagram known as a data flow diagram, which is represented as DFD. The program structure can be designed from the DFD representation of the problem. So let us understand the concept of DFDs in more detail. It is a crucial program representation for procedural program design. DFD has proven to be a generic technique which is being used to model all the types of subsystems and not just software systems. For example, let us understand the concept more elaborately. The data flow representation of an automated car assembly plant, if we consider it is an example in order to identify the inner meaning of the technique behind the data flow diagram. If you have never visited an automated car assembly plant, a brief description of an automated car assembly plant would be necessary in order to design a particular model of related plant. In an automated car assembly plant, there are several processing stations which are sometimes called as workstations. They are located along the side of a conveyor belt, which is also called as assembly line. Each workstation is specialized in order to do the job such as fitting of wheels, spray painting the car, fitting the engine, etc. As the partially assembled program moves along the assembly line, different workstations perform their respective jobs on the partially assembled software. Let us understand the concept with the help of a diagram. I hope everyone can view the diagram on the screen where circle representation is given in the data flow diagram model. The circle representation is used in order to represent a workstation or any process that is being performed, where every workstation has input items as well as they produce some output items. As we are considering a car and an assembly plant, so the workstations considered in order to develop particular assembly car is fit engine, fit doors, fit wheels, paint and test. I hope you can observe a particular representation of two parallel horizontal lines, which is identified in the diagram. It represents that necessary items to be fitted from the corresponding stores. So, as per the requirement, we have considered chassis store, engine store in order to fit the engine. Similar way, door store we are considering and we are representing it to the workstation fit doors. And the wheel store is considered in order to process the fit wheels. Likewise, so on. We can easily identify the diagram with the representations. Under the diagram, there is an explanation related to the diagram. So let us understand. Each circle in the DFD model represents a workstation, which is also called a process or bubble. Every workstation has some inputs and also produce outputs. As a car under assembly arrives at a workstation, it fetches the necessary items to be fitted from the corresponding stores, which are represented by two parallel horizontal lines as we have discussed. And as soon as the fitting work is completed, it passes on to the next workstation. It is easy to understand the DFD model of the car assembly plant shown in the figure even without knowing anything regarding data flow diagrams. In this regard, we can say that a major advantage of DFDs is their simplicity, where the fit engine will be giving the chassis with engine to the fit doors, and the next step is partly assembled car is fitted with the wheels. Then the assembled car is designed and we will be painting and also testing over the car, and then ultimately the car is designed. The next concept is object oriented design. The data flow oriented techniques evolved into OOD techniques. OOD stands for object oriented design. In the late 70s, we are starting the object oriented design techniques too. These are used in order to follow an approach where a natural object is considered, such as employees, payroll register, etc., which is relevant to the problem and are first identified. Then the relationships among the objects, such as composition, reference, and inheritance, are determined. Each object essentially acts as a data hiding, also known as data abstraction, for any entity that is considered for the development of the object oriented design. This technique have gained widespread acceptance because of their simplicity, the scope for code and design reuse, promise of lower development time, lower development cost, more robust code, and also easier maintenance. These are different advantages in order to implement the object oriented techniques and are very popular nowadays. The next subconcept is what next. We observe that in almost every passing decade, the revolutionary ideas were put forward in order to design larger and more sophisticated programs. At the same time, the quality of the design solutions must be improved. But what would the next improvement to the design techniques be? Is it very difficult to speculate about the developments that may occur in the future? Therefore, the next development would most probably occur in order to meet the challenges faced by the modern software designers. To get an indication of these techniques that are likely to emerge, let us first examine what are the current challenges in software design. First of all, let us understand program sizes are further increasing as compared to what was being developed a decade back. And the second one is many of the present day software are required to work in a client server environment through a web browser based on the access, that is also sometimes called as web-based software. At the same time, embedded devices are experiencing an unprecedented growth and rapid customer acceptance in the last decade. It is therefore necessary for developing applications for small handheld devices and embedded processors. Now let us have a glance over evolution of software design techniques. From 1950 to 2000, the graph is identified regarding the evolution of software design techniques. During 1950s, we used to follow exploratory style. Whenever the evolution of software design technique is implemented, by 1960s, control flow oriented style is implemented and followed from 1960s. Later, during the year 1970, data structure oriented style have been implemented. The next level of evolution is data flow oriented style, where we have discussed the flow of data with the help of example. So it is represented in 1960s. 1980s. Later, the data flow oriented style have been evolved into object oriented style during 2000th century. 20th century, we are following aspect orientation client server design. Until now, with the embedded software design, we are combining aspect orientation of particular software with the two cases. One is client server design and the other one is embedded software design. Likewise, we are evolving our software design techniques from 1950s to 2000 plus years. Hope you have got an idea related to the evolution of software design techniques. For every task that is represented in the graph, for every evolution we have already discussed in the last class and also in today's class related to all the centuries style of evolution of designing the software programs. So hope you have got all the points. And the last topic under this is other developments. The improvements to the software design methodologies over the last 5 decades have indeed been remarkable. In addition to the advancements made to the software design techniques, there are several other new concepts and techniques for effective software development in order to introduce into the programming environment. These new techniques include life cycle models, project management techniques, specification techniques, testing techniques, quality assurance techniques, debugging techniques, software measurement techniques, etc. The computer aided software engineering tools are also used. Sometimes they are represented as case tools. The development of these techniques accelerated the growth of software engineering as a discipline. So, thank you, one and all. If you have any sort of queries, let us interact now. Just type in the chat box so that everyone will have a clear idea on the asked topic. Thank you.